All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We originally set out to do a historical deep dive into the ancient ruins of Roman London, perhaps looking at some old walls or, buried artifacts. But instead of an archaeological excavation, we ended up conducting a completely digital one. Because by simply clicking on a museum link to learn about Londinium, we uncovered a massive, modern digital surveillance ecosystem lurking right beneath the surface. It is absolutely fascinating, and today we're going to map the whole thing out.
Here's what we're looking at today. First, the Accept Cookies wall. Second, categorizing data. Third, the 1022 ad partners. Fourth, building your digital profile. And finally, the illusion of choice. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The Accept Cookies wall. The digital barrier. So, picture this. You're just trying to learn a bit about Londinium, but immediately, you are intercepted by this impenetrable digital barrier. The sheer scale of it is actually revealed right there in the opening sentence of their privacy notice. They casually mention they process your personal data, like your IP number, but look closely at the number of partners they declare right up front.
1022. Seriously, before you even get to see a single historical artifact, you are introduced to an entire army of 1022 advertising partners, all just waiting to process your personal data. That is literally over 1,000 distinct entities standing between you and a simple, free article about Roman history.
Moving on to Section 2, categorizing data. Needs versus profit.
Take a look at the exact tracking methods they're trying to use here. According to their own declaration, they only really need 25 necessary cookies to actually make the website function and be usable. But if we look over at the marketing category, there are 53. That means more than double the necessary amount of cookies are devoted purely to tracking you.
And, well, they aren't exactly shy about what these do. The source explicitly defines these 53 marketing cookies as tools meant to track you across completely different websites. The whole intention here is to make your data valuable to third parties and publishers, so they're actively following you around the web long after you've left the History Museum's page.
Okay, Section 3, 1022 ad partners, the corporate trackers.
So, who exactly are these trackers? Hidden within that massive wall of dense boilerplate text, we find a really surprising array of corporate entities. You've got the giants you'd probably expect, right, like Google and Meta, but TikTok? On a page about Roman history? Really? And then you have these highly specialized ad tech firms you've probably never even heard of, names like StackAdapt and 33 Across, and they are all waiting in the wings to log your visit.
Now, at this point, you might be thinking, okay, I'll just click reject all and be done with it, right? Well, the text actually reveals a massive loophole called legitimate interest. This is a legal basis that allows some partners to process your data without even asking for your consent, simply because they argue it benefits their business.
And this is where things get truly wild. The source explicitly lists exactly 750 distinct vendors claiming this legitimate interest to just bypass your direct consent altogether. Think about that. 750 companies believe they have an inherent right to, and I quote, create profiles for personalized advertising based on your behavior, completely regardless of whether you enthusiastically clicked accept or not. Which brings us to Section 4, building your digital profile, the data extraction. So the crucial takeaway here is that they aren't just dropping simple cookies into your browser anymore. They are actively scanning your unique device setup through a process called fingerprinting. If you allow their special features, they'll look at the fonts you have installed, the specific plugins you use, and even the exact resolution of your screen. They're combining these tiny, seemingly harmless little details to stitch together a completely unique identifier for your specific phone or laptop.
And the sheer amount of data points they collect is incredibly thorough. Along with your IP address and basic browsing data, they're requesting access to your precise geolocation. The text literally notes this can pinpoint your location to within a 500-meter radius while you browse. They want to know exactly where you are physically standing while you read about old Roman bathhouses. It's kind of crazy.
And make no mistake, this tracking is not temporary. While some of the basic structural cookies expire the second you close your browser, these tracking cookies are built to last. Twitter, for example, drops a cookie that lasts for 400 days. Google Analytics, that stays with you for 2 years. And a SoundCloud tracking cookie embedded right there on the site will stay lodged on your device for a staggering 10 years.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, the illusion of choice, consent versus reality.
The source text actually explicitly outlines what I can only describe as an inescapable web.
They state they can match your activity on the site with entirely different data sources, even explicitly mentioning your offline activity, like scanning a loyalty card at a physical store. They're also actively linking your different devices. So if you browse on your phone, and then later you hop on your laptop using the same Wi-Fi, they merge those two identities together to build a complete 360-degree digital profile of you. And, this reveals the true irony of that consent banner we all blindly click every day. If you click Accept All, you are immediately consenting to 14 different data processing purposes, and you empower hundreds of vendors. But if you hit Reject All, you're really only doing half the job. Because to truly protect your data, you actually have to manually dive into the settings and individually object to those 750 vendors claiming legitimate interest. The whole system is literally designed to exhaust you.
Which leaves us with a massive question to ponder today. When a simple educational search for the history of Roman London deploys over 1,000 corporate trackers onto your device, analyzing everything from your screen resolution right down to your geographic location, what is the true cost of free content on the web? So the next time that banner pops up on your screen, will you just blindly click Accept All? Or will you recognize the invisible, deeply complex data ecosystem you're feeding? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.